Hi Faith, hi Judah. Meine Lieben, was meint ihr, wo ich gerade bin? Bin nicht in Afrika, nicht in Masai Mara, ist auch nicht der Kölner Zoo, sondern wo man es vielleicht nicht erwarten würde. Ich befinde mich gerade in Florida und zwar im Camp Colaqua, wo ich ja, an einer sehr wichtigen Konferenz teilnehme, wo ich euch mit teilnehmen lassen möchte, und zwar zur 10. AdAgrA Konferenz. Das ist die adventistische Landwirtschaftsassociation, die eben sich bemüht, wieder die Landwirtschaft in den Fokus von Gottes Volk zu rücken. Wieder aufzuzeigen, wie wichtig Landwirtschaft ist im Kontext von Erziehung, von Erlösung. Und diese Konferenz findet jetzt zum 10. Mal statt und ich freue mich sehr darauf, freue mich auch, euch mitzunehmen, euch einfach Eindrücke zu geben, was hier geschieht, was durch diese Konferenz bereits erreicht wurde. Und wir werden einige Leute, interessante Leute, Geschwister hier vor die Kamera kriegen, werden sie einfach ein bisschen fragen über ihren Hintergrund, was sie mit Landwirtschaft verbindet, was sie tun in dem Bereich, warum sie hier hingekommen sind. Und ich denke, dass wir viele wunderbare Eindrücke einfach sammeln werden, um ja genau dieses wichtige Thema unter uns wieder mehr prominent zu machen. Und da freue ich mich drauf, euch mitzunehmen. Ich habe jetzt gerade hier die Erlaubnis bekommen, in den Zoo hineinzukommen, auf diesem Camp, was ja irgendwie riesengroß ist. Ich bin gerade letzte Nacht erst angekommen und verschaffe mir jetzt eine Übersicht. Und die haben hier so ein Zoo, wie ihr es gesehen habt, mit Löwen und keine Ahnung, Tigern und allem möglichen. Und ja, ich nehme euch einfach mal ein bisschen mit, was ich hier so erlebe. Aber vor allen Dingen wollen wir uns natürlich mit der Thematik von AdAgrA auseinandersetzen, mit ihren Zielen und ihren Intentionen. Und da freue ich mich drauf. Also seid dabei und kommt mit.
Those are the first telltale signs that, okay, a warm front is coming. It may be 24, 48 hours, but it's a sign that it's coming.
Hi, I'm John Deisinger, and I have my family. I have wife and 5 children, 3 married now, and grandchildren, so life is good. But we farm in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and we have a small organic farm that we do farmers markets and CSA.
So I read your book, your story. I was really inspired by that.
Praise God.
Yeah, I had the chance to visit your farm last year twice. It was really a blessing. And I know, John, that you have a big part also with the founding of AdAgrA. Can you just tell us a little bit about the background, how AdAgrA started?
Yeah, well, you know, I definitely believe that it was a movement started by God, and the timing was His timing. There were actually a number of us who had thrown the idea around of an agricultural association, and I actually tried to get something started. I believe it was in 2010, tried to get a group of people together, and the plans fell apart in a way that I felt very strongly that God was saying it wasn't the right time. And so I just laid it down. And then there was at that time Bob Jorgensen was a real key player. He was doing every year a true education and agriculture conference. And he had done at least 4, and I think probably more than that. And we attended a number of those, but we began to sense that people were coming wanting more concrete help with agriculture. You know, true education is such a broad topic that it just wasn't possible to look at true education and then get into the details of agriculture. So we felt that there was a need for something more focused on agriculture. And actually in 2013, a man named Daniel LaFleur helped Bob Jorgensen organize an agriculture and true education conference at Uchee Pines. And it was there on the Sunday after the conference that they had a meeting for anyone interested in starting an agriculture conference. And so that is where AdAgrA was born, out of Bob Jorgensen's conference. And so that was in the fall of 2013, and AdAgrA had its first conference in the fall of 2014. And God has blessed it. We had 350 people at the first conference, and it's just grown and flourished.
Yeah, how have you seen the development of AdAgrA until this day? It's now the 10th anniversary.
10th one. I mean, you know, there's growing pains with any organization. It's much more organized now, which it needs to be because it's much more bigger. There's a much bigger team to make it all happen. You know, these conferences, there's so much going on that it just really takes a team. But God is working, and I believe He's continuing to lead and guide with it.
Why is AdAgrA necessary in Adventism?
Well, I like to say it's not that agriculture is more important than a lot of other things. You know, there's a lot of things, evangelism, you know, different kinds of evangelism and literature ministry and the health ministry. They're all important, but I think AdAgrA is necessary because agriculture has been too often overlooked in Adventism. I like to say that as Adventists we've shot ourselves in the foot because we've emphasized education so much, and by education we mean higher education, the world's higher education, and we're all wanting our kids to be doctors and lawyers and at least ministers or teachers, and agriculture is not viewed on the same level. It's not valued and appreciated like it should be.
So where would you like to see agriculture and Adventism in the future?
Wow. Well, I think every school and institution should have a farm and be providing the majority of its own food. I think every Adventist family should have a garden and be providing much of their own food. I think that Adventists should be the leaders in the world for showing people God's plan for agriculture and how, you know, I honestly, I think that agriculture, well, I like to tell people small farms are the world's best answer to the problems that the world is facing today. Obviously, as Christians and Seventh-day Adventists, we believe that the final solution is going to have to come from out of this world. But every problem that the world faces today, from climate to mental health, I think would be taken care of if there was more proper agriculture going on.
So why are you here?
I'm here because of what we can learn about agriculture through education and what it means for God's work.
So what do you think to get out of this AdAgrA this time?
I hope to meet a lot of people, networking, inspiration, ideas, meet ministries that really that we can also maybe start up in Europe.
Okay, so you came a long way, like me actually.
Yeah.
Where are you from exactly?
I'm from the Netherlands.
Netherlands,
Yeah.
of course. And it was a surprise because we know each other.
Yeah. We met only
here.
a few weeks ago.
Yes,
I didn't know
actually.
we were planning
No.
this.
It was just a mess. And in the end, we just had to say, we got on our knees, didn't we? And we said, Lord,
We prayed this prayer, which we've done many a time.
it was just 3 words.
Lord,
Yeah.
it is 3 words. Lord,
do something.
We had reached the stage where we realized we don't have the answers.
And so obviously at that time, we now had no job, we had no money, we had no house because we thought we had found a property in the midst of all of this and given up our notice. Then we realized we couldn't afford that property, so we withdrew our notice, but they said, oh, I'm so sorry, but we've actually given your property to someone else. So we were homeless, moneyless, jobless, in the perfect position where the Lord could work.
Wir haben gestern Abend dieses wunderbare Zeugnis gehört von der Familie Sullivan aus Schottland, wie Gott sie geführt hat mit nichts in der Hand, dass Weltmenschen gekommen sind, haben ihnen Ländereien geschenkt, Firmen sind auf sie aufmerksam geworden, die haben denen dann ganzes Equipment gekauft für die Farm und vieles, vieles mehr. Also unglaubliche Geschichte. Es war, glaube ich, für viele gestern sehr ermutigend, vor allen Dingen für diejenigen, die irgendwie auf der Suche sind, auf dem Land zu leben und sich vielleicht fragen, wie sie ihre Familie dorthin bekommen oder wie sie vielleicht sogar in einen Bereich reingehen können, um die Sachen zu verkaufen. Wenn ihr die Möglichkeit habt, das Zeugnis gibt es leider natürlich im Moment jetzt nur auf Englisch, aber wenn ihr auf den YouTube-Kanal geht von AdAgrA, dem amerikanischen, da könnt ihr euch das Zeugnis von der Familie Sullivan anhören.
You asked how I got started into farming,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So how did you
So I didn't grow up farming actually. When I was younger, my friend heard about Bountiful Blessings Farm, so I went on their website and saw they had an internship. Logical, there are steps, you know, to get it prepared, and it's so cool to see it go from, you know, basically raw land to harvest. And so I was like, well, back home I could do this too, and to get all the tools I need to get started, it's not going to be, you know, like starting this big farm, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's, you know, I could get started, you know, for, you know, maybe $5,000 to $10,000 or less, you know, depending on how small you start and scale up.
And have it changed? Did farming change you? As a person?
It's changed me for sure. Yes, I think I would have been way different if I took a different path. And I've definitely grown closer to the Father through all this, and I'm thankful for that. You know, kind of gives you a good big picture of how it'll work. And so I was praying, you know, Father, you know, how can I start from here on my own? Like, this is a big endeavor to start from scratch and just step out in faith, you know.
And this was 2021 then?
Yeah, 2021, yes.
And how old have you been then?
So I was 21 too. So I'm in,
24.
Yeah, I'm 24 now. Yeah. Rather than getting overwhelmed by the big picture, I was, you know, still working part time and just trying to do things one step at a time and praying, you know, Father, I commit myself to you today, and here's what I have before me. How can I best go forward, you know, in the little things and just taking it one step at a time. 2022 and was our first, you know, year, you know, growing things and first season. And so we planted, it was tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, potatoes, garlic, and then I started some strawberries. And I'm seeing how he's blessing, and I just praise the Lord, you know, because I thought, man, I thought it would take, you know, years and years and years, but, you know, I'm seeing how he's leading, and he's blessing.
So you're now 24 years?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And you have your own farm?
Yes, and it's nice. Amazing to see how the Father's leading. And for me, I want to be able to provide, you know, as a husband and have a successful business. So I think it's going to take me another year to get to the point where it's more stable and consistent, but I've seen, you know, where I didn't know how to go forward, and then the Father opened up the doors and closed the doors to lead me and guide. So I think I just hope that this is encouraging for anyone, that when you don't see the way forward, when you don't know what to do, you know, we can learn from other people who have gone before us, and to catch the vision.
Was für ein inspirierendes Zeugnis, oder? Der Andrew ist voll mit Farming. Und es ist so schön zu sehen, wie so ein junger Mann, wie Gott ihn geführt hat und dass er jetzt mit 24 Jahren schon seine eigene Farm jetzt gerade am Aufbauen ist. Und ja, ich kann euch nicht das ganze Zeugnis zeigen. Es geht jetzt sicherlich bestimmt über eine Stunde. Aber wirklich faszinierende Geschichte, wie der als junger Mann das jetzt so anpackt und umsetzt.
Hi, my name is Robert Phillips, and I've done farming at different Adventist institutions. I was the farm manager at Red River Outpost in Kentucky for a while, and now I run a tree service company. So we're trimming trees and removing trees, but I use that as a means of spreading the gospel as the main goal. Growing up in the city, I was very fascinated with high school friends that had gardens, and I would ask them different questions, and it just amazed me that they were actually growing things. That was just so far beyond my reality growing up in the city. And so as I read Ellen White's writings, I also discovered the importance of agriculture in those writings. So I thought to myself, I have dreams and hopes and plans of, you know, going to prestigious college and all those different things, but I'd really like to take some time out and focus on learning the A, B, and C's of education. So I actually moved out to a lifestyle center in Colorado named Eden Valley and started doing organic farming there. I had a wonderful experience. I had great joy, you know, working with nature, working with plants. And so overall, it was just very refreshing to me in my life. And I decided this is something that I want to be an important piece of my life. So over the next few years, I just worked on different farms and eventually started to manage some and now run my business. Well, you know, the interesting thing is that children and young people naturally have an interest in agriculture. In a sense, we grow it out of them. And so I think that cultivating that naturally placed desire while they're still young is a major key. You know, we need to advocate it to young people as a part of education. And for me, when I tell my friends and young people about agriculture and my experience in it, they're usually very fascinated. So if we can have programs to just give them a little taste of what it's like to work on a farm, I think that'd go a long way. You know, a one-week program, come out to my farm. You know, Adventists who have country property saying, come out to my farm, get part of the experience, make it a pleasant experience, not just all about the work. And I think that young people will latch on and say, hey, maybe this is something I want to do on the side, or maybe this is something I want to do full time. I want to be a market gardener or something like that. So I think that just letting them, like the Lord says, taste and see that I am good, you know, letting them get a little taste of it and how superior it is to the things of the world, or, you know, sports and things like that. I think that will go a long way in helping the spark to catch and ignite.
You learn the cascade. It's all the balls coming up the middle. You see that? Yeah. Then you might want to take one ball and throw it over the top. Or all the balls going one way over the top. Yeah. Or all the balls going both ways going over the top. And all of a sudden you've reversed the cascade. This is what you started with. Right. This is what you're... And then you may want to take a ball and just put it over here. Put the other two in their own little elevator shaft, and then you can... There's no rules against this. And then, like, you may want to learn the cascade with your hands crossed, or the cascade with your hands crossed and not crossed.
Okay.
So what workshops have you visited so far?
Workshops?
Yes.
Oh, I went to one on growing basil, and just went to one on growing tomatoes, and one other one.
Yeah, this one with basil was with Darren Greenfield, is that
Yes.
correct? So how was that?
That was really interesting. I was like, what is there to know about basil that he's going to be able to talk about it for an hour? But he was able to share with us how he's at Weimar. He's grown basil and sold it to markets, and it's just been selling like crazy.
Yeah, that's very nice. I actually wanted to go there, but it's, you know, there's so many good workshops here.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward at least to listen to it on audioverse. And do you planning to go to some other workshops? Do you know already which one?
Yeah, right now I'm going to one on medicinal herbs.
That sounds
how
very
to make
interesting.
medicine out of your garden.
That sounds very interesting. All right, Isaac, thank you so much for your time.
You're
and I wish you God's blessings and also a good time here at AdAgrA.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Because what happens is that this tomato starts producing, goes really well, and then starts going down. But guess what? There's another rotation coming up, and then I keep that plateau like this, and then that production supplied very well. All right, my name is Adner Abreu, and I'm the farm manager of Eden Valley Farm in Colorado, and I'm here at AdAgrA just teaching and sharing my experience of growing greenhouse tomatoes and everything about tomatoes and greenhouses.
So what is your background? How did you start farming?
Yeah, I started farming when I was actually a small age, and since I was a kid, so I've been gardening, and actually one of my first things that I grew was that I learned to grow was orchids and flowers, and then I transitioned into vegetables and greenhouses now and tomatoes, and I grow over 30 plus varieties of vegetables and some fruit. So
nice. So
yeah.
What does farming mean to you today?
Well, farming for me means a lot. I think the world, everybody knows how it is, and just the knowledge of growing your own food to become self-sustainable, I think it is big. It is huge. And it's not that you have to become a farmer, that you have to become a gardener. It's just the knowledge that whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever career you're in, you can have a backyard garden full of vegetables, full of gardening. And it just brings so much joy to go back there and harvesting your own lettuce. Yes.
So what do you think about farming in the context of the three angels' messages?
Yeah, I think it's important, you know, especially when we look at the last days. The knowledge of gardening, like I mentioned, it's big, and as well, it is a way where you can actually share with others the knowledge that you know about Jesus and the gospel. As you shared your greens from the garden, I mean, it's big, and everybody is open to receive a pound of tomatoes or some things that you grew, and then you can become friends and start sharing, of course, what you know.
So what do you think about AdAgrA? What role does it take in Adventism now?
AdAgrA, I think, has a big role, especially now encouraging homesteading, encouraging growing your own food, providing a place where people really can come in from all over the world and learn agriculture. So, you know, I've talked to fellows here from Colombia, of course, Germany, and yeah, I think, you know, it's just very important to have it here where people can come and learn different things about agriculture.
What do you like to grow the most?
Tomatoes. Yeah, that's why I'm teaching my tomato class here, and so I just love growing tomatoes, and of course just greens in general. I just love the joy of harvesting. I like to eat, so I like to just grow and harvest my own things. It's just very nice when you have to make a cabbage salad or you know, tomato salad or a tomato sandwich, or you know, you go out there, you grab your own tomatoes or your own things, and it's just very rewarding. So when you're eating that, you're not thinking about, man, I paid, you know, this much. You're actually thinking about, I actually grew this stuff. This is amazing. So it is very rewarding.
But it also means your produce tastes better. It has more nutrients in it. We understand now that picking something, it automatically starts losing the vitamins, and they're dying as it sits a week in a cooler, a week on a truck, a week in the grocery store, but you picking it from your backyard is exponentially more healthy for you, and it tastes better.
I'm Jared, I'm here at the AdAgrA conference, and I'm excited to be here.
Jared, I know that you do some classes about homesteading. So what is homesteading all about?
For us, it's having your own little kingdom, you know, just some soil and a little bit of space for some animals. My wife and I are our little girl. We've got a little piece of land that we love to live on. And yet we're not too isolated where if a friend says, hey, come meet me for lunch downtown, we still engage with reality. So I think some people think homesteading is totally self-sustaining. You don't need any attachment to civilization. That's not us. We love people and we love to be around others and to bring people out. You know, there's nothing like being in the blue sky and around the trees and animals and nature. So homesteading to me is connecting with nature and often doing that through the soil and through joyful experiences out in nature. It's been just great. You know, you pick up conversations halfway in because you don't have to catch up on why are you here. Everybody's kind of here for the same reasons of you know, getting their hands in the soil and being with other like-minded people. I think more people should find some land they could enjoy.
So I believed that while I was renting, with Dave Westbrook's advice to rent, that I should probably be looking for foreclosures because I had friends around the country and outside the country saying that they were watching this trend of people leaving the country to go to the city. And it was leaving a lot of country properties either abandoned or undesired or undesirable and very available. And so while I had been watching and praying for about a year now, 2-3 years now, I felt sure that the Lord would not call his people to go to the country and leave anybody the excuse that, who might say on the day of judgment, well, Lord, I would have moved out, but I couldn't afford it.
Well, my name is Chad Cruiser, and I am from Michigan, and my wife and I have a YouTube channel called Health and Homestead, where we talk about those two things. We talk about research on healthful living, how to eat in such a way that enhances happiness, and we also talk about homesteading, growing your own food, and living in the country, and becoming more and more, not quite self-sufficient overall, but at least more independent living.
So what does homesteading for you mean exactly, and what is your experience with it?
Homesteading is basically having generally land in the country with a house, and you know, homesteading can involve, you know, your outbuildings. It can involve, for some it would involve taking care of animals and so forth. My wife and I don't have any animals on the property because we travel so much. It's just really not an option. But it has to do with growing your own food. You know, we heat our house with wood, so there's a lot of work when it comes to felling trees. My wife and I bought land in the country. It was raw land. It was a forest next to the national forest, and we didn't have anywhere to garden. There was no room to build a house, so we slept in tents. We had no bathroom, no toilet.
Wow.
It was primitive living. You know, we could hear the coyotes at night, and we had to spend months felling trees. So we were cutting down trees, clearing the land, and it was very hard work. And then finally the building of the house, and it's been very fulfilling for us. I am so glad that we did it. It was extremely hard. I got to admit, it was. I thought about the pioneers who first came to America. They had just axes. I mean, I had a chainsaw, and it was still a ridiculous amount of work. But it was a special experience. So homesteading for me was, you know, preparing property and a house and a place to live in the country.
Nice. So your YouTube channel just recently, over the last month or year, really took off. It's quite amazing. You know, you did some videos and then you had, I guess, over 1 million views on some of the videos. So how is your experience with that in terms of that people are getting interested in homesteading? And of course, you're a Christian, you're a Seventh-day Adventist, and sometimes, you know, you also share a Bible verse and something like this. So how is your experience with that?
So people are extremely interested. We are living at a time where there is kind of a resurgence in desire to move to the country. I mean, you look back for the last 100 years or so, and people were mainly moving from the country to the city, but now we're having this reversal where people all over have this great desire to move to the country. And so I just happen to be a part of a perfect timing for that, starting a channel about doing that myself. And because we're doing that myself, you know, many other people are interested, they would like to do it, many other people are doing it. So whether it's other YouTubers contacting me who do the same thing, or even another YouTuber from Scandinavia, actually, he contacted me. He is a homesteader also, and he gave his life to Jesus because he watched one of our videos where I gave some evidences for what I believe are good evidences for God, and I challenged to read the Bible, and he contacted me and said, I did what you said, I began reading the Bible, and I've given my life to Jesus. And so we live at a time where people are very, very open to the message of country living. Obviously, there's disparate or different views on health, but many people are also open to the health message also, and people are more and more open to spirituality than for years, actually. I think people are becoming more and more open to learning about the Bible and Jesus and really the message. They're seeing something's going crazy in the world, and they want to know more about what to do.
So we're right now at AdAgrA. What is your personal experience with it?
Well, AdAgrA is a conference designed for people to gather together, and it's not just for farmers or market gardeners or even just people with their own garden. It's a place for families. It is a place for the saying for AdAgrA is grow better, and that growing better is learn to grow your food better, your family better, to have a healthier form of education in your family. And it's a very special place to come to every year. I've been coming for the last few years. I happen to be a board member of AdAgrA, and it is a spiritual experience. I mean, if you come, you grow spiritually. And I know I was just invited to potentially come next year in the Netherlands. They're going to be having it next year, and I'm actually hoping to be a part of that and look forward to this spreading around the world.
So that will be at AdAgrA Europe.
Yes, that's right.
Nice, nice. So, where do you think that we are in Adventism when it comes to the agrarian life? Where do we stand right now with that?
Well, I think there is also a resurgence of people within the church recognizing and having this desire. I don't mean everybody, and I'm not here to force anybody to do it, but for those who have the burden, and I'm seeing more and more people get that sense, you know what, maybe it's a good time to have my family out in the country. And I don't believe that it's simply to be a place to hide. No, I mean, this is to be a place where we can grow in our character, and then we can also take the experience that we have and go share the love of Jesus back in the cities. That's what my wife and I do. Yes, we spend time in the country, in the quiet and the peace, and there's a spiritual growth that takes place there, but then we go share the gospel around the world, and that's what we're called to do.
Where would you like to see farming, true education, and Adventism in the future? What would be your personal desire for that?
My hope is that we get back to the educational system that we were designed to have. What we were designed to have is to create an educational system that promotes a level of independence instead of general education is making you a dependent upon a system, that you are not someone who goes and blazes a trail and creates, you become a true entrepreneur. It's basically how to become a worker in a system. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, if that's your goal, but that wasn't our goal. Our goal was to have a level of independence. And so teaching people to be true leaders, and something like agriculture, and I recognize many people think agriculture, you'd need millions of dollars to, the average American farm, which is really actually not that big, but 404 acres is the average size farm. But young people are starting farms that are like an acre. And almost anybody in America, if they really tried hard enough, could buy an acre. And they're starting farms like an acre, and they're making a full-on living with an acre. And so there's this level of independence where you don't have to be ultra rich to do it. And so my hope, I don't mean that everybody has to go into agriculture, but I hope that we have an education that can enhance people spiritually and give them a level of noble independence.
Nice. Thank you so much, Chad. I really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to have you next year in the Netherlands. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being there.
Yes.
My name is Larry Lesher. I'm a farmer. We do small-scale, high-diversity organic farm. We do flowers. Our farm is Eastward Gardens, located in Indiana, just northwest of Louisville, Kentucky. And yeah, we've been there for 11 years. A lot of times it feels overwhelming and unattainable. And when you see somebody who's doing it, it's encouraging. It makes you feel like, okay, I can keep going. The Lord will open a way. There is light at the end of this tunnel. I'm not beating against the wall. You know, a lot of times I think we feel alone out there. You're in the middle of the country. You're not necessarily surrounded by a bunch of like-minded people in a lot of instances. And so to come together and see, no, there is, you know, a remnant. There is a group of people that have the same idea, and we are out there, and we're not fighting this alone, is extremely encouraging. The groundwork of true education, and if you read the book Education in the first chapter, she said, it's a higher calling. It's not just about what we do in this world, but what we're preparing for in the world to come. This idea of education not being how to make money, but how to grow the kingdom of God and prepare people for a time when we need to be the head and not the tail. And so we're preparing our children to be missionaries, to go into the world and do good and not need to be supported, but to be able to go to places where they're far-flung, often, you know, jungles, or whether it's in your own backyard in your neighborhood. You need to be able to work in a way that you don't have to rely on others, but that you are sufficient to raise your own food and to provide for yourself and your community, so that the community can see a better way. That we have a message that is, what would you call it? The watchword of education is something better.
Why do you think it's still not that prominent as it should be in Adventism?
I think we've been told, and I don't have to guess at this, but it's a remnant. And we're going to see a remnant, but the remnant is promised. You know, Isaiah speaks about it in Isaiah 6. Having ears they cannot hear, having eyes they cannot see. They're stiff-necked, hard-hearted people. But there's a promise that there's a remnant. And that's up to each individual. They get to choose for themselves. It's not my job to convict them, and it's not my job to judge them who's who and what someone's doing. It's my position is to do what I'm called to by the Lord. What we're told is the right approach, what the right behavior is, and we live in accordance to that. And it's not by works. But when God changes the heart, we're told in the book Steps to Christ that we can place our will on God's side, but we cannot change the heart. But, and I'm paraphrasing this, when we place our will on God's side, He will change the heart. And I think this work of coming into harmony with God in nature and learning who He is through the second book and the first book, through the Scripture, we'll have a different experience. We're all called to this. This is the reality that God created. He put Adam in a garden because that's the place that we flourish. It's the place where we find settledness and fullness of joy. I was just doing this lecture, and you know, one of the things I say to people often, they come to the farm, and I try to explain specifically to men, you know, we're the head of household. And that is not an overbearing thing. But as a man, my position, my place is to provide for the family. The protector, the provider. And if I can't provide nourishment to my family, and I don't mean nourishment in the sense that I've got enough money to go to the grocery store to buy groceries, but if I don't know how to grow things, if I don't know how to put seeds in the ground, save seeds, and actually provide for my family when there is no other provisions, you have this innate sense of insecurity that's going to exist in you. And just like anything else, it's a brokenness, and God wants to heal us from that. And part of that process is to put us back in the garden, give us that whole feeling, that whole sense of like, okay, if my family needs to eat, I know how to provide sustenance to my family, the basis of existence. And the side effect of that is while I'm doing that, I work with angels. I grow in a knowledge of who my Creator is. That's where He met with Adam and taught him these things. And so we actually have this opportunity. And so as we exemplify that opportunity, I think the loveliness of Christ comes through and it attracts people. We don't need to hard sell them on it. We don't need to push it on them. We need to show them that this is actually better than what the world has to offer. And when they see it, it will win them.
Yes.
And in Adventism specifically, we've got to make up a fraction, a very small fraction of that 1% of the population. And I believe that it's our job, it's our responsibility, in fact, it's our calling as Adventists to encourage the rest of the church to see the great value that they would receive if they adopted this. Our institutions, for instance, if you think about the institutions being self-sustaining, we're supposed to have these institutions that are self-sustaining institutions. If we can't feed ourselves, we're a long way away from being self-sustaining. We need to be the head and not the tail. There's a crisis coming. A time of trouble the world has never known, Daniel says. And Ellen White says that this time of trouble, usually when we talk about it, is never as bad as you think. But this one's going to be far worse. And these things are sincere. And just like Noah, we're supposed to be warning the world of what's to come. And I don't know that, yes, we're going to preach it, yes, we're going to say it, we're going to give the message, the three angels' messages, right? But we have to live it. You know, proclamation without the application is hollow. And so people want to see you do it. They want to see you exemplify your convictions, your beliefs. And I think that's how we change it. That's how we inspire the youth. We need the youth to see us doing it. And then we don't have to convince them of anything. They'll come alongside.
Bin echt froh, dass ich Larry getroffen habe. Wir haben jetzt noch lange unterhalten, jetzt gerade eben, was wir jetzt gar nicht alles aufgenommen haben. Aber auch gerade dieser Punkt, den er gemacht hat, mit der Verantwortung, die Ehemänner haben, wirklich als Versorger der Familie, als Provider aufzutreten. Und wie Gott das am Anfang diesen originellen Plan gegeben hat, im Garten, um für die Familie wirklich zu sorgen. Und ich denke, dass dieser Grundgedanke vielleicht manchmal bei uns theoretisch im Kopf da ist, aber so wenig wirklich praktisch umgesetzt wird in unseren eigenen Reihen. Und ja, wie schön und wie wundervoll man es eigentlich lernen kann aus diesem ursprünglichen Gedanken des Gartens Edens heraus. Und dass Männer der Familie vorstehen sollten, für sie zu sorgen und auch wirklich praktische Männer einfach zu sein. Ja? Das ist etwas, was ich glaube sehr, sehr verloren gegangen ist. Und ich bin sehr inspiriert bei vielen Geschwistern jetzt hier, auch jungen Leuten, was die alles hier machen und wie praktisch die an Sachen herangehen. Und nicht so viel die ganze Zeit Theorie und Theologie schön hin und her, aber wirklich praktisch zu sein. Und das hat mich sehr, sehr inspiriert in diesem Gespräch, auch die Geschichte von Larry und seiner Frau Michelle. Wir werden sie noch hören. Wir können leider nicht das ganze Zeugnis ausstrahlen jetzt hier, aber die haben eine unglaubliche Geschichte, wie Gott sie aus der Welt herausgerufen hat und in diese Linie der wahren Erziehung hineingeführt hat. Und da freue ich mich schon drauf, das werden wir nachher auch noch sehen, ein bisschen von ihnen hören und was sie eigentlich genau praktisch auch auf ihrer Farm machen. Und ein Gedanke, der mir auch noch kam während dieses Interviews, ich bin jetzt in den letzten Tagen ein Buch am Lesen über gewisse Prinzipien beim Gärtnern, und da beschreibt ein Mann, der ich glaube kein Christ ist, wie er Erfahrungen gemacht hat mit seinen Nachbarn, die aus der Amish-Gemeinschaft, Community kommen. Und er beschreibt in diesem Buch, wie begeistert er ist von den Amish, weil die einfach alles so praktisch umsetzen, praktisch denken. und helfen und beschreibt da so eine gewisse Situation, wie sie ihm geholfen haben, so ein Gewächshaus aufzubauen. Und da habe ich mir gedacht, meine Güte, eigentlich müsste unser Name dort erscheinen. Und jetzt sind andere Leute, ja, die das eigentlich, wo wir das ja auch dafür bekannt sein sollten. Gott hat uns eine wichtige Botschaft in diesem Bereich gegeben. Und ja, aber es wird kaum thematisiert. Es wird, wenn es mal thematisiert wird, sind sehr wenige, die das wirklich praktisch dann umsetzen oder wirklich den Wert in diesen ganzen Sachen sehen. Und da ist viel, viel verloren gegangen, meine Lieben. Sehr, sehr viel. Und deshalb brennt mir das auch am Herzen, diese ganze Thematik wirklich wieder prominent zu machen unter uns, unter Gottes Volk. Zu sehen, was für ein Wert das Gärtnern, die Selbstversorgung, das Landleben, wie wichtig das ist im Konzept von wahrer Erziehung, von Gesundheit. Das ist alles Teil, was man nicht auseinandernehmen kann, der dreifachen Engelsbotschaft. Und wir müssen wieder dahin kommen als Volk, dass wir den Wert dieser Sachen wirklich sehen und sie auch praktisch ausüben. Und deshalb, wenn dann, wisst ihr, Leute auf uns wieder aufmerksam werden und sehen, hey, sind nicht nur die Amish oder die Mennoniten, sondern da gibt es ein Volk der Übrigen, was Gott berufen hat, die all neben diesen Sachen eine Botschaft haben, die niemand anderes in dieser Zeit hat. Aber wir müssen das in den richtigen Fokus, in den richtigen Kontext setzen. Aber Geschwister, wenn wir das nicht machen, uns von Gott da nicht leiten lassen und dann nicht ein Umdenken geschieht in unseren Köpfen, dann können wir noch wirklich von morgens bis abends so viel, sei es richtige Theologie, predigen, wenn es nicht praktisch ausgeübt wird. Ja, was nützt das dann alles? Was nützt das? Und es ist mir in den letzten Jahren so bewusst geworden, so sehr ich auch selber gerne predige und Gott auch das Wort natürlich gebraucht durch die Predigt, keine Frage. Uns ist aber klar gesagt durch den Geist der Weissagung, dass das Werk nicht abgeschlossen wird durchs Predigen, sondern nah am Menschen zu sein. Und da hat Gott uns Gesundheitsbotschaft gegeben, hat uns das Gärtnern gegeben, hat uns sein Wort gegeben, dass wir es alles miteinander kombinieren sollten und nicht hier ein Teil, jetzt treffen sich da die Leute, die Gruppe, die Gärtnern jetzt, oder jetzt hast du hier die Leute, die machen Gesundheit, oder jetzt hast du dort den Evangelisten. Nein, Gott will, dass wir das miteinander kombinieren. Natürlich kann nicht jeder alles gleichzeitig machen, das meine ich nicht, sondern dass dieses Netzwerk entsteht, dass wir diesen Dingen wirklich wieder einen Wert geben, das schätzen und das wirklich alles unterstützen und promoten und in den Vordergrund wieder rücken von all den wunderbaren Dingen, die Gott uns gegeben hat. Also ich bin sehr inspiriert durch so viele Menschen, die hier sind. Ach, wenn ich das alles zeigen würde, was wir hier aufnehmen, die Gespräche, die wir haben, es wird wahrscheinlich 10 Stunden Video werden. Aber ja, es ist eine wichtige Sache. Und ich hoffe, dass uns das einfach alles sehr motiviert, wenn wir das hier sehen. Und wisst ihr, wie kann ich als Ehemann meiner Familie vorstehen, wenn ich nicht mal weiß, wie ich wirklich für meine Familie praktisch sorgen kann? Ja? Wir wissen, das hat Larry ja auch gesagt, wir kommen in eine Zeit, wo wir nicht mehr kaufen und verkaufen können. Was mache ich dann, wenn ich nicht weiß, wie ich praktisch meine Familie versorgen kann? Durch Landleben, durch Anbau und all diese Dinge. Und das haben wir ja auch schon gehört hier. Das heißt nicht, dass jeder jetzt hier ein professioneller Farmer werden muss. Aber es bedeutet einfach, dass ich diese Dinge auf dem Herzen habe, dass ich weiß, wie ich praktisch meiner Familie helfen kann. Und da sind wir, das muss ich einfach so sagen, als Ehemänner in Verantwortung gezogen und oder berufen. Und es ist ja nicht irgendwie, als wäre es, keine Ahnung, was Schlimmes oder eine Last. Leute, die mein Zeugnis in der Richtung kennen, die wissen auch, ich hatte auch keine Jahre lang das nicht auf dem Schirm, aber Gott führt uns ja Schritt für Schritt. Ich habe mich damals in den Garten niedergekniet und habe gesagt, Herr, du weißt, ich habe keine Freude an dieser Sache. Aber schenk es mir bitte. Meine Güte, hat Gott dieses Gebet erhört. Also, lass uns das bewusst sein, dass wir da in Verantwortung sind und da eine Rolle zu übernehmen haben und von der Theorie wegkommen müssen ins Praktische. Nicht nur reden, sondern wirklich machen.
Hi, my name's Darren Greenfield, and I'm the farm manager at Weimar University.
So I know that you're also involved in a mission work project with farming in Africa. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So Garden of Renown is the ministry that I've been involved in, as well as AdAgrA. We started AdAgrA in Ghana, and it has taken off and is doing very well and helping a lot of people there. The Lord showed us a way of bringing AdAgrA to the very poor areas where people can't afford to travel and come to a conference. And so we started the Garden of Renown, which is based on Ezekiel 34:29, where God says, I will raise up for them a garden of renown, and they shall no longer be consumed with hunger in the land. And so we sponsor a well, fencing and irrigation materials, so that they can cultivate about an acre of land. We give enough to do that. And the church is able to cultivate that land, raise some funds. It provides employment for some people. It inspires them to get into agriculture and see what can be done once they see the income that is developed from that. It gives the youth some hope of an occupation to do. Many of the young people will leave their villages and go to the city, and they won't get much employment or so on. And another opportunity that the Garden of Renown is opening up, we have one at the Adventist University where they are training pastors. So we set a Garden of Renown there. So theology students now are getting trained, not all of them, but some of them, how to do and use agriculture as a means of uplifting the people. And so they can go, when they're hired as pastors upon graduation, they can go and use Christ's method of meeting people's needs and use agriculture as a way of influencing people. And already we have seen how powerful that is, because the churches, the pastors that are doing that, they are growing. Their membership is taking off.
And Darren, I know that you just attended the AdAgrA Europe conference in Italy. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Yes, it was actually a wonderful experience. Small group of people, but very humble and sincere. People that are involved in ministry, different types of ministry, and it was just wonderful to be there with them. And you know, I think there are many challenges that they face with every country just about having a different language, and so few people there that are actually on board with the AdAgrA message. But yet there is a hunger and a desire for this to reach more people. And so I think by God's grace, each country or each language needs to have their own AdAgrA organization where they can be more impactful, because if you don't understand English, you can't come to the conference. But if someone in that language can share the message, then there'll be many more who will be reached. So we're praying that God will do something there that will reach many more. So sometimes, you know, it feels like we're preaching to the choir. You know, there are people who already understand the message and are committed to it, and it's greatly encouraging to come together with like-minded, but there are so many more that need it. And so, yes, I'm really happy to know there are people there that understand it, you know, and are experiencing it, because it does change lives.
Yeah, praise God for that. Thank you so much, Darren, for your service and taking time for us. Thank you.
God bless you.
So, wir gehen jetzt mal ins Gym. Und das ist der Hauptveranstaltungsort, und da sind auch die ganzen Stände. Und wir laufen jetzt gerade einfach mal ein bisschen durch und schauen wir mal, wen wir so treffen und was wir alles Interessantes sehen und lernen können. Thank you so much. Hier ist das Gymnasium, das ist die Hauptveranstaltungshalle, wo morgens und abends die Ansprachen sind, auch eine Workshops. Und gibt es Zeiten, wo die ganzen Stände auf sind von den verschiedenen Missionswerken. Und wir fangen einfach mal an, laufen mal hier rum. Das ist jetzt der AdAgrA-Stand selber. Da haben sie verschiedene Bücher. Einige davon gibt es auch im Deutschen. Das sind sehr gute Bücher, die ich teilweise auch schon gelesen habe. Ganz viel über Blumen, Flowers. Gab es auch einige Workshops zu. Market Gardening Bücher, alles Mögliche, was man so lernen kann. Alright, hi Eric.
Hey Timo, how are you?
Nice to see you again.
You too.
Yeah. How was your class this morning?
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I saw it a little bit over there.
Okay,
so,
good.
First minutes. So Eric, do you want to tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I started about 7.5 years ago, and that was when we first left the city to move to the country. And a friend of mine had mentioned, hey, you should start one and document your journey and just see what happens with it. Well, God's blessed it over the years, and especially when the COVID pandemic hit, everybody was fearful, and they were looking to get out of the cities because the cities were locked down, and the channel just exploded.
Wow.
It just blew up. So, and I bring the camera with me wherever I go on the property, just whatever I'm doing. And I figure if I'm working out on the property all the time, and the things that I'm doing are valuable to somebody else, so the camera's there and I just do it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So how is that for you when you like talk about God or I don't know, mention the Bible, something like this? How do people react to that?
That's a great question. At the beginning of starting the channel, I didn't mention God in our journey. It was basically making videos about how to do things. And then the Holy Spirit was impressing upon me maybe a year and a half ago or so to start talking about Christ. So I did, and had a big positive reaction to that. You know, some people say, oh, I don't want to hear any of that God stuff, but most people are mainstream Christians, and they say, oh yes, we kind of connect with you about it.
Wow.
And then I started getting a little bit deeper into serious biblical topics, like the tribulation, what that really is according to God's word, and the state of the dead, and things like that.
So it's a really nice way, you know, just to take your camera with you all the time. Just, you know, help people with what you're doing with your content, and then tell them about God. So that's very nice. Right. Okay, Eric, we have a nice booth here with some things. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, absolutely. We have a freeze dryer at home, which helps us to preserve our harvests. It's a little bit expensive initial investment, but the money you save on saving your food for a long period of time more than makes up for it. You know, these apples are good for 25 years.
Wow.
Of course, we have T-shirts for our channel.
Very nice design.
Thank you. And this is our brand new logo. Only people at this conference have seen this so far. I haven't put it on the channel yet. And over here, we've got some pine needle tea. Pine needles, people don't realize, have more vitamin C than citrus fruit. And pine is good as an expectorant. So if you have a lot of mucus in your throat and mucus in your chest, it'll help to really break that up really quickly. And it's kind of got a nice lemony flavor to it. It's nice.
Now you can smell it a little bit.
And then over here we made some black drawing balm. So this is made from activated charcoal, bentonite clay. The base of it is beeswax and olive oil. And then there's a little plantain leaf and hyssop oil. And what that does is it'll draw out the poison from bee stings, from fire ant bites, even small slivers will pull out. And then the hyssop oil that I put in there has beautiful healing properties to it. And so does beeswax and the olive oil for your skin.
So did you need to use it a lot?
Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah. And then when somebody gets into the fire ant mound.
Oh yeah. You experienced that as well, huh?
Yeah.
Funny. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Taking
Thank
time
you.
for us.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye. Johannes.
Hey.
Hey,
Wie
willst du mal
geht's?
deine Heimat grüßen?
Hallo, liebe Grüße nach Deutschland.
Kannst du noch Deutsch sprechen nach so vielen Jahren?
Ich spreche noch immer noch ein bisschen Deutsch.
Ja, mit ein
Aber
bisschen Akzent.
Mit Akzent, ja, leider. Aber
Ja.
so ist das halt.
Ja, so wie ist deine Zeit für dich hier?
Hier?
Ja, bei
Sehr
AdAgrA?
gut, ja.
Ja. Das erste Mal, dass du hier bist?
Zweites
Oder?
Mal.
Zweites Mal
Ja.
jetzt. Okay. Okay.
All right, guys. You want to tell us a little bit about your booth?
Oh, you go. Okay, well, this is Bountiful Blessings Farm Booth.
Yes.
And we are selling here our gluten-free bread mixes and some gluten-free bread. We have our croutons that we make out of any leftover bread from market. And our newest one is some coconut stick crackers. Other thing that's really important is we have 4 week-long trainings that we have throughout the year. One is on Intro to Organic Gardening, the next one is Intro to Market Gardening, and the last one is Intro to Winter Growing. So if you don't have time to come here for 6 months to do a whole 6-month internship, you can come for 1 week.
Yeah, I can really recommend this. I did the market gardening course and the winter growing course, so it was a blessing.
That's true.
Definitely.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you. The other thing we have a book on councils on country living. We have a book on councils on agriculture, right here.
Yes.
And
That's a very good book.
Very good book. And then my favorite, which is Our Ebenezer. This is their testimony, and it is very inspiring.
Yes.
I would highly recommend this to anybody.
Definitely. We want you to translate this into German. It's a really inspiring story. Yes, definitely. So, and I also can really recommend these things here. The bread, because you know we're Germans, we're so, you know, yes, we love our bread, and I tasted it. It's really wonderful. It's really good German bread. All right, guys, thank you so much.
See ya.
See you. So, Caleb, what do you love about AdAgrA?
I love the Timos here.
Perfect.
That's the best part.
Oh, I
and
love
then the
to hear
classes.
that. Oh, so that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And it's so nice to see you again.
Likewise.
Yes, perfect.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Do you enjoy the time here?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, what workshop did you visit?
Yesterday?
Yes.
I went to 2 microgreen ones, and then I was helping teach them with the kids. So
perfect.
I did that.
How
in the
was
morning.
that? How was your experience? Yes, with the children.
Yeah, they really enjoyed it. The kids were loving the whole time. They were very excited about the classes. And
you did the microgreens with them?
Correct.
Yes. So do you know which classes you will attend today?
Yeah, I'm going to the mushroom one first, and then I'm going to. I would have to look. It's like something about after like post-harvest handling.
Oh yeah, I will be there as well.
Yeah, and then the afternoon ones, I would have to look at my schedule to remember. I'd picked out a couple though.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good classes.
Sounds good. Good
Too
to
many
see
good
you.
classes. Yeah.
Hey guys, want to say hello?
You get any wind coming in the end, you can just feel it off Let's just say this is a slower hill. I wouldn't say we've got a lot of slack about straight up and down.
Okay, Nick and Jonathan, it's nice to have you. You're with Farmers Friends. Can you tell us a little bit about Farmers Friends?
So I started Farmers Friend 12 years ago, and basically the goal is to supply tools and resources and infrastructure. We do a lot of high tunnels to people who are trying to grow, whether that's just hobby gardening or commercial farmers. Probably the majority of our audience or our customer base is commercial growers, but we are definitely expanding into the homesteading gardener space. And you know, it can be challenging, and so our goal has always been to have tools and supplies that take a lot of that challenging, hard work and turn it into something that's a little more manageable for people.
Nice. Sounds good. So how did Farmers Friends start?
The history basically is I grew up farming. My parents have a commercial farm, and that was my background and upbringing. I don't remember anything before they were farming. I was probably 5 or 6 years old when they started farming commercially, and I was working on the farm up until I was 18 or 19 when I started Farmers Friend.
And I know that you had this blessing that you invented something special.
Yeah, so the first product that we launched was the Quick Cut Greens Harvester, which is for harvesting leaf lettuce and salad greens, and it allows you to do it in a mechanical way with, you know, mechanized, rather than being on your hands and knees with a knife or scissors harvesting by hand. And so that saves hundreds of hours of time for farmers. And so that was a huge success originally, and then from there we've just expanded into more products that are helping farmers succeed.
I think it was a personal pain point for you, wasn't it? Because you spent some hours yourself on your knees harvesting by hand.
Yeah, I grew up doing it. So
wow. So and today you have sold them in the thousands, right, all over the world?
Yeah, all over the world. Thousands of them all over the world. We have distributors in Canada and France and Australia, and to kind of scattered around the country.
That's really a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, every book which I read about market gardening just recently, you know, every time your name is popping up, you know, or your products.
Yeah, it's been a product that you know, there was just there was a void. There was no affordable tools out there for harvesting salad greens, and so it filled a big need. And so there's you know, the interesting thing is we've done very little marketing on that. It's just pretty much word of mouth and affiliate kind of promotion of that product, not only here in the US but around the world.
So you have also this wonderful series, The Good Life, on YouTube. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, why don't you?
Yeah, so I think it was 2019 we came up with this idea to kind of add an inspiration component to what we did at Farmer's Friend, because, you know, we exist to supply tools at the time to farmers who are doing awesome things in their communities, and we wanted to tell their story to inspire others to do the same in their communities. So for the last 4 or 5 years now, we've kind of visited farms throughout the world, really, mostly in Europe and the US so far, and just made these short 5 to 8 minute short films, really just with the goal of inspiring other growers by the beauty of a beautiful garden and the life that you can live when you're doing so. So we've got a YouTube channel with all of those posted. We probably post about every other month at this point. So yeah, definitely you can check out our YouTube channel, Farmer's Friends, and subscribe and kind of stay in touch with some of those inspirational films that we do.
And I must say, you know, they're very well done, high professional. And last time when I was at your parents' place on the farm and I heard the first time about The Good Life, when I came back, I just started to watch it and I couldn't stop to watch it. It was just an inspiration, you know, to see all these farmers. And so it was really a blessing. What is your experience with The Good Life in terms of the response or, you know, how people react to it?
We've had millions of views across all of the films and across all the platforms that we've posted them on, and we have just gotten pretty much all positive feedback. And I think the most rewarding and exciting is when we've had customers of ours and people that have come to us and said, hey, watching that first episode is what inspired me to take the leap to, you know, quit my day job and start farming full time. So there's been a number of situations like that where we've had customers and people that have come to us and said that was what inspired me to start doing this, and that was the goal with it. So
yeah, that's what success looks like for that series.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So what is your feedback, your response of people?
There's been quite a few young people that have come up to us actually at this conference and said, I grew up on your video. They were so excited.
Nice.
So that was exciting for us.
Yes.
You know,
what a blessing.
Yes.
That's really, really nice. Wellness secrets. Hartman College. Eden Valley. So, wow, what do you have here?
These are mushrooms, various mushrooms that I'm growing. I did a presentation this morning on how you can grow all of these.
Farms Too is a training of trainers program equipping people in the poorest places in the world with a recipe for abundant life. So they can help themselves combat hunger, disease, and poverty.
So it's exactly according to the council what Ellen White says, you know, that we should train poor people also about agriculture. That's nice.
Yeah, honestly, she wrote the book. I just received the actual acronym. So the acronym, it stands for farming, attitude, rest, and meals. That spells farm. And then stew is sanitation, temperance, enterprise, and water. And so you might, some of those letters are like familiar from other aspects of our health message, but even the familiar ones are a little bit different. Like water, for example, you know, everybody knows we should drink water, but what if your water is impure? How do you purify it? Our curriculum teaches how to purify it. Or like, we all know we should eat a healthy plant-based diet, but what if you can't afford it? You have to be able to grow it. So that's why we start with farming.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Joshua White, Director of Thinking Generation Ministries, a ministry focused on true education for parents and teachers.
All right. So Joshua, what do you think is the role of farming and true education in Adventism?
Well, we're told that agriculture is the A, V, and C of true education, which tells me that's where we need to start. It forms a foundation for true education. Now, clearly, there's other letters in the alphabet, but it is an excellent start in helping children, you know, begin to have hands-on learning. I mean, there's lots of academics that can be learned in the garden, and science and math and all those sorts of things. Not to mention, it's a place that we can learn of God. You know, we're told the Garden of Eden was not only Adam's dwelling, but also his schoolroom. And I think it can be our schoolroom too. And if we're also told the first work that should be entered upon by our schools, then we need to make it the first work. You know, it should be there. It should be a non-negotiable.
Hi, my name is Alain Mugisha. I'm the General Manager at Paradise Fields. So we are a nutrient-dense organic farm located in Hamilton, Canada. For those of you who don't know where Hamilton is, it's just close to Niagara Falls, 1 hour from Niagara Falls on the Canadian side. So we operate a nutrient-dense farm, like I said, and our purpose is to grow the most nutrient-dense produce on the planet. And we do that by fully mineralizing our soil, investing heavily in the soil health. We do that as well by having our own compost teas. We do a lot of leaf analysis. We test our products. We have a very scientific approach to our farming, but at the same time using organic and sustainable agriculture. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. We believe that if the soil is healthy, if the plants are healthy, people will also be healthy. Well, we know that farming was the first job that God gave to our parents. It's the most noble work. So I think farming in Adventism can have definitely an educational role. Farming should be like a school, teaching people about God, about life, about hands-on work as an educational tool. That's number one. Of course, getting the food, and as well in the last days, it will also help us to survive. When times are rough, when we can't buy or sell, we are told that if we live in a country, we know how to farm, how to have a garden, we will live like kings and queens. So farming has also that role, education, and providing for us during difficult times that are ahead. I think that those are the two major ones that I can think of right now. Farming in Adventism in the future, I think it should be something that is mainstream Adventism. I would really love to see that. Right now, farming, if you talk to Adventists, you have a hard time finding Adventist farmers. But if it could be something that is mainstream, that is taught in all of our schools, even churches, teaching agriculture, gardening, using it as an evangelistic tool. That's what we do at Paradise Fields. We have people from the community coming to get healed from depression, anxiety, PTSD. So we're using farming also as an evangelistic and healing tool. So farming should be embedded in a lot of things that we do, and absolutely mainstream and as a tool for evangelism.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm Scott Ritzema with Belt of Truth Ministries. I'm super happy to be here at the AdAgrA conference. I've been in ministry for about 10 years now. We started with a seminar called Media on the Brain. So we deal with media oversaturation, media addictions, worldliness, and nature is the antidote to that, God's Eden plan. So thanks for having me. This is a great place for us to gather with like-minded believers and really enjoying ourselves.
So what does bring you always back here?
this is the blueprint, and this is the movement. The first night that we were here, I looked at the vast sea of people in this room, and it's grown. And I thought, this is God's movement. This is Spirit-led, and it's Spirit-initiated, and it's moving us toward that eventuality where we can finish the work together according to God's design and plan. The time is short, so we've got our kids here. That's a big part of it for us as well. We homeschool, and we feel like this is a really good way to get our kids connected with like-minded believers in a community of those who are going the same direction we're going, and just to have some good family fun together as well. Home education, which was God's original plan in Eden and during the patriarchal time, you know, prior to Solomon, or Samuel rather, home education was the only thing. And then the schools of the prophets come in to augment that, to supplement where those of us who are struggling in our homes could use some help. And there's such good counsel about this. Just read the book Education, and families will be revived through that process. We read the book Country Living as a family, and it was like, yeah, we're all supposed to be moving to the country. My wife had a friend who was like, oh, you guys are fanatical, that's crazy. And my wife said, would you just read the book? And she read it, and she's like, yeah, you're right, we're all supposed to be moving to the country. And not hastily, not with our hair on fire, but also not dragging our heels. So we move forward deliberately, prayerfully, and God will lead the way, and we can find that joy and that peace. I'd say pray and say, Lord, I'm not motivated. I don't see the necessity of this. If this is something you want me to do, then show me in your word. Show me in the spirit of prophecy, if you're a believer in that. And then go to those texts and study it out. And I believe God will lead you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, God bless you.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think this is the longest beard on the conference.
Good morning.
Looks nice, man.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk to the young men as well as their mentor, their father, about what you guys get to do on your kind of homestead near the Dysinger farm and kind of how you're living. I understand, I saw your table in the back, and you guys produce wood and other products for sale. That's right?
Yes.
Would you explain to me what you're holding in your hand? Tell people what this is and where it came from.
That's a spoon, and I had to carve it, and it's black walnut.
So that's black walnut. Your father has a lot of confidence in you if he's going to give you a piece of walnut that size and that you cut it up and make a nice spoon. That's fantastic. Have you used these at your home to have breakfast?
No.
They're just special occasion, maybe for public sale. And you do the same thing your brother does. Do you help out in your father's carpentry shop? You know, Jesus did that.
Yes.
You helped too. Did you make this spoon here?
Yes.
That's incredible. Would you tell me one of the tools maybe that you use to create something like that? What kind of tools do you use?
Chisels, sandpaper, and saw.
Chisels, sandpaper, and saw. And is that walnut as well? It looks terribly pretty. Do you have an online store?
No.
Maybe we'll work on that later. Do you have a real storefront maybe that the people can see what you have to sell?
Just the booth.
Just the booth. So, okay, these are limited editions then. Is that what I hear you saying? Okay, so folks, these are limited editions. I think you can get the craftsman's autographs on them, should you choose. Now, in my line of work, I use knives too, and my surgical friends do a lot of that too with knives, and they cut. You have to have good training from someone like the gentleman behind you. What's your last name again?
Neuro.
Neuro. So you're actually neurosurgeons, aren't you? Because you're using knives and you're like operating on faulty wood, and you're creating and bringing out the best of the wood, aren't you? Have you thought of yourself as a neurosurgeon before?
No.
You can start now. You know, does your dad make business cards?
Yes.
What are they made out of?
Wood.
That surprises me. Do you think maybe you could bring next year some business cards of your own that says, like, you're a neurosurgeon, and then you could, like, sell those things, right? So, do you have a lot of fun? Tell me how much fun it is to work with your dad in your shop.
So much.
Are you there every day, maybe, or just like on weekends, or?
Whenever I can.
Whenever you can. I'm sure you probably have some responsibilities with Mom, and maybe do you do some school at home?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Kyle, I've been to Kyle's shop, and it's like, I wish I had Kyle's shop. And I wish I had some fine young men that I could do some fun things in the shop. So thank you for illustrating for us what it's like to have a really well run an industry at home with your own family.
What happened after your internship at the Dysingers farm?
Really, it's kind of been a journey in seeking the Lord's will, but for me, I knew that the Lord was calling me to work in agriculture, because He just shows so clearly that agriculture is a way that we can connect with people, and it's also a way that He can work on our own hearts and our families. It brings unity in so many ways, and so the Lord is actually opening up opportunity now for me to start start farming in Nova Scotia and actually get a farm, an orchard.
Nice.
We're also told that true education is missionary training, and so it's to prepare us not to be making lots of money, but instead to be better and more useful servants for Christ. And so really how I see that becoming a part of my work more and more is really to share with young people who would want to learn farming on a farm, is to be able to incorporate them into a farm, and through the farm and through nature, which are many of the means which God has given us to learn, classes in education, to use those to prepare young people to be missionaries.
That sounds very good, Nathan. How old are you now?
I'm 20.
20, wow. So 20, and now you're into true education, you're starting your own farm. And just one last question. What do you think, how important is the practical work?
It's very important. God placed His children in the garden right from the beginning, so that it would keep them, and even after the fall, He encouraged them to stay in the garden, to hedge them from evil, and so that they could be practical, useful people. I think it is of absolute essential importance for us now, and to prepare us for heaven and our families as well.
One last advice for young people. What would you say to young people to go more into that field?
I would say that we need to make time with the Lord every morning absolutely our top priority. Nothing else is more important than that. And second of all is to read the books that God has given us. One, my favorite is the book Education. First the Bible. We need to read that first, and then read the book Education by Ellen White. That's the best starting point.
Amen. Thank you so much, Nathan. God bless you.
Thank you.
For those trying to make the decision to move to the country, do it now. If the Lord is impressing that on you, do it now. Don't wait for the Lord to do something like He did to us. He literally pulled us out of the city. It may not be your first or last chance. It may be your only chance.
I just want to end with this one text. Are you familiar with this? This is good. Though the fig tree may not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, though the labor of the olive may fail and the fields yield no food, though the flock may be cut off from the fold and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. That's the kind of faith I want. And it's not going to come without hormesis. It's not going to come without accustoming ourselves to hardship and privation. We need to be growing better food. I think you all know that, and that's why you're here. But more important than better food is better families that are going to be a light to the world and bring them to the understanding of the gospel. And number one, we need better faith.
Liebe Geschwister, ich bin Gott sehr dankbar für das Wirken und die Arbeit von AdAgrA. Ich bin Gott sehr dankbar, dass ich teilnehmen durfte an dieser so gesegneten, geisterfüllten Konferenz, die so praktisch war in ihrer Natur, dass nicht nur einfach sehr gut praktische Informationen, Wissen vermittelt wurde, Erfahrungen weitergegeben wurden, sondern dass wir auch in den einzelnen Workshops wirklich hands-on, also dass wir praktische Dinge wirklich tun konnten, um wirklich zu lernen, was ja Teil ist, wie wahre Erziehung eigentlich stattfinden sollte, dass man beim Tun wirklich die Sachen lernt. Und es war so schön zu sehen, dass diese dennoch kleine, aber zur gleichen Zeit auch wachsenden Bewegung innerhalb unserer Gemeinde einen Aufschub erfährt und wie wir uns gegenseitig ermutigen konnten. Wir haben die Zeugnisse gehört an den Abenden. Wir haben mit vielen Leuten gesprochen, vieles, was es gar nicht in dieses Video jetzt hineingeschafft hat. Wo Familien individuell von Gott wirklich an den Punkt geführt wurden, das Thema der wahren Erziehung für sich zu untersuchen, zu schauen, wo stehen sie, welche Entscheidungen müssen getroffen werden, wo möchte Gott, dass wir mehr Glauben haben und wo es dann teilweise wirklich, wie wir auch gehört haben, zu radikalen Entscheidungen gekommen ist, aber mit dem großen Segen, der dann gefolgt ist. Auch die jungen Leute zu sehen, wie sie praktisch Dinge angehen, wie sie in ihren, teilweise wie wir gehört haben, jungen 20ern, das Thema der wahren Erziehung wieder für sich erfassen, erkennen, dass sie sagen, nein, uns geht es nicht darum, jetzt in der Welt irgendwie Karriere zu machen, irgendwelche Titel, Abschlüsse und Sicherheiten in dieser Welt zu suchen, sondern zu schauen, was will Gott eigentlich von mir? Wie möchte Gott, dass ich sein? Welche Erfahrung möchte Gott mir schenken im Kontext der wahren Erziehung, um eben der Mann oder die Frau zu sein, die dienstbar ist in Gottes Werk, die ein Beispiel geben kann in Gottes Werk. Und da hat es mich sehr ermutigt, diese Geschichten, diese Erfahrungen zu hören von den Familien, von den jungen Leuten. Ich erinnere mich auch an eine Familie, die hat es jetzt auch leider nicht in dieses Video geschafft, aber ich kann euch versprechen, da wird noch was kommen in der Zukunft. Das war eine Familie, die ehemals Amish waren, die jetzt Adventisten geworden sind. Und ich habe die immer wieder beobachtet auf der Konferenz, wie die einfach miteinander umgegangen sind, wie die ein bisschen älteren Geschwister sich um die Kleinen da gekümmert haben. Die haben einen Foodtruck dort gehabt, haben Essen dort angeboten und wie noch nicht mal die Eltern, sondern die Kinder eigentlich dieses ganze Business dort in einer Ordnung und Disziplin geführt haben. Das hat mich tief beeindruckt und hat mir auch Mut gegeben zu sehen, hey, das gibt's noch, ja, und so sollte das eigentlich unter uns laufen und sein. Und ja, das freut mich, diese Sachen mitzunehmen und ich hoffe, dass einiges davon einfach jetzt auch durch dieses Video vermittelt werden konnte und wir auch in diesem Bereich ermutigt sind. Denn wie wir auch gehört haben, es hat alles im Garten Eden begonnen. Der Garten war die erste Schule. Das war Gottes Absicht, hat die Familie dort reingesetzt. Von dort aus sollte Gottes Herrlichkeit in die ganze Welt strahlen. Und Geschwister, wenn die Familien gesund sind, wenn wir uns wieder auf die Linie der wahren Erziehung begeben, wenn wir untersuchen für uns, was Gott eigentlich wirklich von uns möchte, wo es eben auch radikale Entscheidungen dann getroffen werden müssen. Und wenn die Familie dann funktioniert als Zelle, das war der Grundgedanke Gottes, und dann eben wirkt in die Gemeinde hinein und die Gemeinde dann gesund sein kann und wir dann als Gemeinde die Kraft erhalten durch den Heiligen Geist, dass wir hinausgehen können und in der Herrlichkeit oder mit der Herrlichkeit Gottes wirklich unseren Auftrag zu erfüllen. Ich glaube, Geschwister, dass Gott uns wieder dahin führen will. Und ich glaube, dass wir uns einfach individuell fragen sollten, wo wir dort im Kontext der wahren Erziehung individuell und als Familien wirklich stehen und wo wir vielleicht auch Entscheidungen treffen müssen, die uns auf diese Linie dann führen. Uns ist gesagt, Geschwister, dass wir mit jeglichem Joch dieser Welt brechen müssen, dass Christus nicht zuvor wiederkommen kann. Und ich hoffe, dass wir etwas mitnehmen. Ich hoffe, dass wir für uns dieses Werk angehen, dass wir tief und innig beten zu Gott, wo wir dort Entscheidungen treffen sollen und wo wir den Glauben haben sollten, den Gott uns gerne geben möchte. Und ja, make farming great again. Lasst uns nicht nur das Farmen und das Gärtnern wieder groß machen und prominent machen unter uns, als ein Mittel dessen, was wirklich wieder in den Fokus, in den Mittelpunkt gerückt werden soll, nämlich das Thema der wahren Erziehung. Möge Gott uns dabei segnen, liebe Geschwister. Und wir sehen uns wieder. Bis zum nächsten Mal wünsche ich Gottes reichlichen Segen jedem Einzelnen von uns. Maranatha.